Hey, what up? Good morning. Happy Monday, everybody. DK Show coming to you from that Sports Talk, TDS Sports Talk Studios this morning. A big thanks for making us a part of your starts, whether you're listening on the radio dials, 105.1 FM, 790 AM, online at sportstalk1051.com. You got your Alexa devices. Just say, hey, Alexa, play WAYY. Video streams are also up and rolling here this morning. YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitch. Hopefully all, again, had a absolutely spectacular, fantastic weekend, and you're ready to hit up the final week of August. And then heading into Labor Day weekend. All right, what do we have on our game plan for us this morning? Brewers dropping the series to the San Francisco Giants this past weekend. Lone win coming back on Friday night, which had to be a come-from-behind victory thanks to Contreras' walk-off home run. Brewers getting a Game 1 victory, even though former friend Willie Adames tried to spoil it with the 2 dingers himself. Then the Brewers dropping their last 2 games, including yesterday's game in which the Brewers had the lead 3-2 going into the 9th inning. Not able to hold on as Giants base hits, getting 2 runs in the top of the 9th, and Brewers not able to tie it, or at least tie it to force extra innings or try to win it in the bottom of the 9th. So they dropped this series, and their lead in the division shrinks a little bit more here after the Cubbies sweeping the Angels this past weekend. So the Brewers 5 games ahead of the Chicago Cubs right now in the standings, but really it's kind of like just 4 when you factor in the tiebreaker, since the Cubs hold the tiebreaker right now. Brewers will begin a 4-game series against the Diamondbacks that starts tonight. 4-game series with Arizona coming into town here before the Brewers hit the road for a quick 3 games against the Blue Jays in Toronto, and then returning home to take on the Philadelphia Phillies. Brewers yesterday as well. It was the celebration of life for Bob Uecker before the game. Not sure how it sounded on the radio or looked on TV if you're watching, but I can tell you, being there in person, it was pretty emotional, pretty powerful. The whole stadium. I've been to Brewers playoff games before. This might have been a little bit more crazy in terms of just the congestion of fans and everything else that was going on. I mean, all across the stadium. You had exhibits posted up with Uecker, whether it was, one of his cars or his plaid jackets, going past the broadcast center, the press area, seeing the new sign unveiled over there, just a bunch of different stuff. And the lines to get into the team store too. I mean, it was packed. It was a packed house. And again, like I said, I've been to Brewers playoff games before, and I think this one is probably tops in terms of just the congestion and the lines and the people and such. I mean, I've been obviously to sold out places before, but I don't know. This obviously was very, very, very different. But we'll talk a little bit more about that. Just being there in person and seeing that, and kind of some thoughts on that and such. Again, not quite sure how it sounded or looked on the radio and TV. I'm sure it was fantastic too, but just kind of maybe a little bit of perspective from being there in the stadium throughout the whole thing too. So we'll hit that up, recap this weekend series, look ahead to this Diamondbacks series coming up here. We did put up a poll question. Our 715 Speaks post Glass and Mirror poll question last night. Posted it up on the ride back. But you look at the last 9 games here for the Crew. They're 3-6 after winning 14 in a row. 3-6, dropping their last 2 series, one against the Cubs and this Giants team. Is there a little bit of worry starting to creep in right now if you are a Brewers fan? Are you a little bit worried? About 70% of you said, yeah, there's a little bit that, you're starting to creep in, a little bit of that worry starting to creep in. 29% of you so far said, heck no, you're not worried at all. You're good. You're as cool as a cucumber right now. 1% said you're freaking out. So I don't know if that was just one voter or what, but if you haven't had a chance to chime in and vote on that, you can do so by heading to the Sports Talk 105.1 Facebook page and voting over there. We're going to talk a little green and gold too, as the NFL preseason is officially in the books. Officially in the books. And now it's decision time for the Packers. 53 roster, the 53-man roster has to be finalized by tomorrow afternoon. And the Packers already reportedly making some moves last night, I should say, for the offensive lineman, acquiring Donovan Kennard from the Eagles for a 6th-round draft pick. He is a guy that could play guard, tackle, has actually won 3 Super Bowls in a row, spending the first couple years with the Chiefs, last year with the Eagles. So Packers, obviously maybe not liking the depth of their offensive line, making a move to hopefully shore it up here a little bit. But I put my 53-man roster out on my Facebook page. This trade obviously changes it up a bit, but I'll go through my 53-player roster prediction and put it to the test here. So, but the Packers did pick up a victory Saturday in their final preseason game against the Seahawks, but now it is big-time decision time here for Goody, for LaFleur, and for the Packers to set their, quote, initial, that's the key, the initial 53-man roster. Because there's probably going to be some other moves made, whether it's on the waiver wire, looking at other guys, other players, other teams have released. Maybe the Packers feel like that would be an upgrade in certain positions for them. So, but what do you think? Let me kind of just throw this out there as an informal poll question for you. What do you think is the toughest decision that Goody, LaFleur, the Packers have to make for their roster? Do you think it's between Malik Heath and McCole Hardman? Maybe it's the final wide receiver spot. Do you feel like it's a defensive position? Is it a linebacker position? What do you think is the most difficult decision that LaFleur and Goody have to make? All right. Put on your scouty caps and let me know, and hit me up with a quick text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line, 715-830-1912. Or you can comment on video streams or hit me up on the socials. So it is also a Monday morning, which means it's a I'm not saying, but I'm just saying, fill in the blanks. I'm not saying blank, but I'm just saying blank. Could be a good one regarding the current state of the Brewers. Could also go with a little bit of the Packers roster prediction, maybe a final roster spot. Just giving you a couple ideas over there. Best ones, I'll read on the air. All right. So again, the best way is to hit us up with a quick text. I'm not saying blank, but I'm just saying blank. What do you have? All right. So that's your game plan here for us this morning. We'll talk a little Brew Crew to lead things off. We got a little green and gold chat coming your way as well. So let's pitter patter. Let's get at her, shall we? We'll take our first break, and then the honors goes to the Brewers for our leadoff topic this morning. Talk a little bit about yesterday's pregame ceremony, and then talk about the current state of the team. 3-6 in their last 9 games, dropping their last 2 series. If you didn't have a chance to vote in our post-Glass and Mirror poll question, but you'd like to, or if you want to chime in on why you voted the way you do, hit me up with a text. I'm genuinely curious. I want to hear from you, Brewers fans. Where's your feelings at right now with this Brewers team? Are you a little bit worried from what you've seen? You still good? You still confident? You a little bit nervous? with where things are trending, or are you like, you know what, let's just get through this and get them an off day and then regroup and refocus? I want to hear from you. All right. All your different thoughts on that. So start to hit me up with those texts on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line, 715-830-1912. Quick break, and we'll be back to talk a little Brew Crew to lead things off here this morning. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. Hy-Vee and Eau Claire makes grocery shopping simple. You will find fresh produce, quality meats, a full-service deli, and bakery with something for everyone. There's a wide selection of everyday essentials and plenty of ready-to-eat options when you are short on time. And if you're planning a special meal or you just want to unwind, their wine and spirits department has a great variety from local craft beers to fine wines and top-shelf liquors. Don't forget to go grab yourself a six-pack of Man Cave Light over there, people. It's everything you need in one stop, whether you're planning a big meal or just picking up a few things. See the difference today by shopping at Hy-Vee in Eau Claire. And maybe with Labor Day weekend coming up, maybe it's going to be doing a little camping or whatever the case may be. Maybe you're going to be heading down to Madison for the Badger game and such. You're going to be doing a little tailgating or whatever. Grab yourself some Dan Good burgers, some Man Cave Light. There you go. Bada bing, bada boom. That's a great Labor Day weekend right there. Let's lead off things here this morning. Talking a little Brewers, shall we? Brew Crew yesterday falling to the San Francisco Giants 4-3. 4-3 to drop the series against the Giants. And they were a walk-off away from potentially even getting swept by the San Francisco Giants. But before yesterday's game, it was the celebration of life for one Mr. Baseball, Bob Uecker. And again, not sure how it looked on TV, sounded on the radio and such, but I can tell you from being there in person, holy moly, what a powerful, what an emotional event. And just across the stadium, the lines of people waiting to get in, the lines of people waiting to get to the team store to get, Euchre stuff and such. I mean, there was when we first got there and walking through the stadium and such, it was, I mean, standstill lines in a lot of areas, just going through the concourse and such, just trying to get to our seats and that. So a lot of people wanting to look at all the different exhibits, whether it was the plaid jackets, whether it was, his car, whether it was his score sheet from the final game that he did and such. I mean, there was different spots all across the stadium. Checking out the press area because outside they unveiled the Bob Uecker Broadcast Center, and inside the stadium they switched up where the autograph, or not the autograph, the retired numbers are. Remember, it always had like 50 under there. They switched it to just his name and then the microphone icon logo there. So, but then the dignitaries that were on stage for the ceremony, you had Yelich, you had Bud Selig, you had Mark Anasio, you had George Brett, you had Robin Yountz, Brian Anderson, and then the host Bob Costas, which had different video themes throughout. I thought it was a fantastic event throughout the whole time. I know it ran a little bit long and such. Hopefully nobody was too upset about that, but it was pretty darn powerful. I gotta say, but I think what really probably got me, or really kind of hit me too, was well, two parts. One, seeing Robin Yount choke up and such, but when they did the first pitch and Bob's son getting ready to throw it, and Bob's family was out there, and then the entire Brewers team walking out there with all the with their jerseys and Uke's name on the back. That was a pretty powerful moment too. So it was an incredible experience. And if you were there, I hope you feel the same. That it was an awesome experience and an awesome pregame ceremony and such. I think, Brewers, Euchre's family, everybody who had a hand in it and planning it did an absolutely fantastic job. It was such a cool thing, and I'm really glad that I got to go and be in attendance for that. So just really, really cool. Game itself, Brewers had it going into the top of the ninth, 3-2. Trevor McGill coming in. Brewers just couldn't hold on to it, though. Falling 4-3. The Giants able to put up 2 runs in the ninth inning and then holding on in the bottom of the ninth to get the series win. And in the last 9 games, the Crew just 3-6, dropping their last 2 series. 5-game series against the Cubs and this 3-game series against the Giants there. So you look at what the Brewers have been doing here as of late, how they've been playing as of late. Is there a little concern? Maybe not concern. I think concern might be a little too dramatic here. But are you a little bit nervous? Little bit nervous, considering, all right, the Cubs just swept the Angels. You're looking at the standings here. Brewers holding on to a 5-game lead, but with the Cubs holding on to the tiebreaker, it's not maybe, it is essentially a 4-game lead right now. Are you a little bit nervous? Just maybe a skosh here in this thing. Brewers still have the best record in all of Major League Baseball. Next up is the Tigers at 78 wins. So the Brewers are still the only team with 80 or more wins at this point. But maybe you're a little bit worried about, the pitchers, getting a lot of usage. They could really use an off day. They're through this really, really long stretch of games. I mean, we're talking it's August 25th right now, and the last off day for the Brewers was August 14th, and their next off day again isn't until September 2nd here. They just need a day off or something like that. Ortiz, he's on the injured list, but hopefully we're going to be getting back Chirio and Rhys Hoskins here soon, so maybe a little bit more offense into our lineup here. So are you a little bit worried? Are you a little bit concerned? Or are you like, nah, we're good. We're good. Just a little bit of a hiccup here. We'll bounce back. Maybe that's where your confidence level is at. I think, Pat Murphy summed it up best after the game, saying that, we got the best record in Major League Baseball, but, we're not trending well right now. We're not playing well as at this point. I think kind of like, hey, we're still good. We still control everything. We still have everything in front of us, but we know we got to be better. Yeah, he said, while they still have the best record in majors, quote, we're not trending in the right direction. And I think he's I totally get it. And in a lot of ways, I agree with Murph. You look at the last few games here, and if you want to be a little bit nervous, you want to be a little bit, like, oh boy, palms are sweaty here a little bit. You're kind of looking over your shoulder, and the Cubs are creeping up a little bit in the standings and such. You're a little bit nervous. Yeah, you're right. But the thing is, the Brewers still hold the cards. They still control their destiny. This is the position they want to be in. Yes, the Cubbies, I think, have a, if you want to call it, easier schedule to finish off this regular season. They do. I think you look at it, at least on paper, yeah, the Cubs do have, I think, a easier schedule than what the Brewers have. I mean, you look at what's coming up here. Obviously, Arizona, you got to take it day by day here. After that, it's Toronto and Philadelphia, 2 of the better teams in all of Major League Baseball. And then, you've got a series with the Padres at the end. Padres are in a division fight with the Dodgers, and then you wrap it up with the Reds, who, they're competing for a wild card spot. That's still a fairly difficult schedule. But the key thing in this whole thing is that at least the Brewers control their destiny. They hold the cards. They determine how this thing is going to finish up. They don't have to rely on other teams helping them out. They don't have to rely on scoreboard watching and crossing your fingers and hoping everything's going to work out for themselves. They control it. It's just up to them whether they can finish this thing strong. Whether they can get to where they want to be at the end of the regular season with that top record, with that top seed, with a division championship. But if you're a little bit nervous, I understand it. I get it. I'm like, oh, I think we all want to see a double-digit lead within the division as we get to September, right? We want to see that. We want to get that. We don't like it when things are close in a race. We just naturally get a little bit nervous. We just get a little bit like, ah, crap. We always kind of just look over our shoulder in any race. In any race, we're like, we want that huge lead. We want that huge gap. It's gotten a little bit tighter. So just naturally, we're probably just a little bit more nervous. Maybe some are more nervous than others, and that's fine. Totally get it. Totally understand that. But at least the crew still, again, hold the cards. They control their destiny. And they got to take it game by game. You can't look ahead to Toronto. You can't look ahead to like, oh, finally we'll have an off day on September 2nd. Can't look ahead to Philadelphia. You have to take it night by night, game by game. Win tonight, as Murphy tells his team every single time. And it starts tonight with the Diamondbacks. 4 games with the Diamondbacks coming over here to Milwaukee. Brandon Woodruff is going to get the starts for the Brewers. Looking to bounce back here a little bit from his previous starts against the Cubbies, where he picked up his first loss of the season. That start, he went 4 1/3, gave up 3 earned runs, did strike out 6, but also issued 3 walks. So looking for maybe a little bit of a bounce back here. And, I know some Brewers fans aren't going to like this. They're not. And it does put a little bit more strain on the bullpen. But I'll be curious to see what the pitch count or what the plan is going to be for Woodruff tonight. Are they still going to be a little bit cautious with him? Are they going to stretch him out here a little bit more as we get closer to September? What's the plan going to be for Woody? Now, to be fair, in that start against the Cubs, yeah, it was 4 1/3, but he also threw 94 pitches. The start before the Cubs was 65. So I'm going to be curious to see, maybe if Woody can get that pitch count down, because you look at his last 2 games, 4 innings, 4 1/3, but a difference of nearly 30 total pitches thrown. That Pittsburgh game where he went 4 innings, no earned runs, 4 hits, just 65 pitches. But a few days later, 4 1/3, 94 total pitches. So if he keeps that pitch count down, will they keep him in there? Maybe go another inning or 2 to help out that bullpen? I don't know. I honestly, I don't know what the plan is going to be or how they view this thing. Do they still want to try to preserve Woodruff here a little bit more? Be a little bit cautious with that shoulder? I guess we're going to find out tonight. When you look at the lineup that the Diamondbacks are going to be throwing out there against Woodruff, Marte's had success against Woodruff in 10 career at-bats. He's hitting 300, 864 OPS. Corbin Carroll, 5 at-bats, 400. Everybody else, you got, Smith's got 8 career at-bats, 125. Everybody else got about a game's worth of experience. Not really a ton. When you kind of look at the lineup here for the Diamondbacks, even though it's a National League team in that, not a ton of experience. Again, you got a couple guys here, maybe 2-3 games worth. Other than that, just a game's worth. And then you got Rodriguez on the other side of the mound here. Eduardo Rodriguez going for the Diamondbacks. So far this year, he's 5-7 with a 5.40 ERA. And you look at what he has done lately. So far in the month of August, in 4 games, he is 2-0 with a 4.50 ERA. He is coming off of a game against Cleveland where he went 6 2/3, gave up 4 earned runs. Here's one of the differences here too. He threw 96 pitches in those 6 2/3. compared to some of the Brewers pitchers who throw those amount of pitches in like 4 or 5 innings. Just throwing that out there. I mean, even in his previous start against Colorado, 7 innings, 93 pitches. But in that game against Colorado, he did pick up the win here too. So you look at Rodriguez's game logs and break it down by month. I mean, it's kind of all over the place, to be honest with you. April, he was 1-3 in 5 games, the 6.26 ERA. May, in just a couple of games, 3 games, 9.75 ERA. Comes back in June and has a really solid month of June. In 5 games, he had a 1.98 ERA. Then in July, it goes back up to a 7.40 ERA. And so far in August, he's at a 4.50. So really, it's going to be, hey, what version are we going to get? What version of Eduardo Rodriguez are we going to get tonight here for the Brewers? You know, offensively for the Brewers, Vaughn's got the most career at-bats against him. He's the only one with double-digit at-bats, with Rodriguez spending some time in the AL. Vaughn, 13 career at-bats, 231 with a 517 OPS. You got Jansen, who's got 9 career at-bats against him. Other guys, you're talking just a couple of at-bats. Contreras has 5, but he's 0.000 batting average, does have 1 RBI. Yelich just has 2 career at-bats against him. Terang's got 5 career at-bats against him, and he's hitting 600, which Rodriguez is a left-handed pitcher. So, I mean, you got Terang sitting there with a 600 batting average against a left-handed hitter. So, but again, what version of both of these pitchers are we going to see? Are we going to see a bounce-back version of Brandon Woodruff tonight? Or are we going to see the Rodriguez maybe of back in June, or maybe the guy that we've been kind of seeing here for the most of the second half of the season, really. So first pitch tonight is going to be at 6:40. Again, coverage will begin on your radio dials, 105.1 FM, 790 AM. Your concern level. Are you a little bit nervous with the Brewers from what you've seen here as of late? Let me know. All right. Hit me up with a quick text, 715-830-1912. We'll take a quick break here, get you an update on some rehab assignments, maybe getting a little bit close for Jackson Churio and Rhys Hoskins to return to the ball club, adding a little bit more offense to the ball club. So let's do that. We'll take a quick break, and then we'll start to already wrap up the first hour here. But Brewers fans, I got to hear from you, all right? Your thoughts on the current state of your team. Let me know. We'll be back in just a few minutes. You know, when it comes to your home, nothing changes the look and feel quite like new flooring. And you know what? I could tell you from experience that when my family and I mean, even in our studios here, when we needed quality service and a team that we could trust, we went to Carpet City Flooring Center right here in Eau Claire. They've got it all: carpet, hardwood, luxury vinyl, or excuse me, carpet, luxury vinyl planks, tile, you name it. And it's not just about the huge selection, it's the way their team takes the time to listen to help you find that perfect fit for your style, your needs, and yes, your budget. The moment you walk on in, you'll feel at ease. And when it's time for installation, man, their professionals handle it with care, precision, and respect for your home. If you've been thinking about updating your floors, now is the time. Stop on in to Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire and see for yourself why they are the place people trust for flooring done right. Go visit our good friends today. Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire. You can also check out their website, carpetcitywi.com, Wisconsin's premier flooring store. Brandon's mom with quick text. B's mom here. I also attended yesterday. Words cannot even come close. Class act by the organizing group who put this together. Surprised Braun was not there. I was looking for him too. I don't know if he was in. I really don't. Maybe somebody knows the answer. I don't know if he was in the section where they had the chairs on the field within the stage and such. I don't know if he was in there. I really don't. But yeah, I kind of thought he would be one of those guys on the stage too. But maybe they just had a few different chairs and such. I thought it was cool to hear George Brett's story. I mean, George Brett was like, "Why is George Brett there?" But to kind of hear his story and such, that was pretty darn cool. And just the you could tell he was incredibly grateful that the Brewers invited him to come over there too. So that was pretty darn cool to see that. So, and then listening to Ted Simmons's stories and such, but there's a lot of good stuff. Even the videos again that was shown all over the stadium between the innings on the scoreboard and that it was just job well done. It was a job well done, and I mean, at least from a fan's perspective, it was pretty darn cool. And it was pretty darn awesome. So, and I got to admit too, I was thinking about this kind of when I was watching the pregame ceremony and that, and I was thinking about it a little bit on the ride home. And I hate saying this, and it's kind of bugging me, but I I think I kind of took Uecker for granted, to be honest with you, like, listening to him for all of these years and following along and that, I feel like there was times in the majority, I kinda took it for granted. Like, dang, it and it goes back to that Office quote. I love this quote from one of my favorite TV shows of all time, The Office. He paraphrasing it, but it's, when Andy Bernard in the season finale, says, "I wish somebody could tell you when you're in the good times." That quote. And well, what's the exact quote? Yeah, "I wish there was a way that you're in the good old days before you've actually left them." It's kind of a reference like that. It's kind of like, don't always take things for granted, and I got to admit it, and I hate saying it, and I hate admitting it, and it's bugging the crap out of me, but I really think there was a lot of times, whether I was driving home, you know, on the weekend going back to college, or me and my buddies in college, we're playing catch in the front yard, or in this case in the street, instead of maybe doing some studying for college or that. We had the radio on and listening to Euchre in the background, and listening to some of those stories, and just there was times like I think definitely took it for granted, and just kind of listening to everybody else and watching some of the stuff, it kind of got that feeling like, man, so many times I probably just, had the game on in the background or had it on the radio in the car, just listening to see how the Brewers were doing. And yeah, hearing stories and that and laughing at them and that, but there was probably more times than I should have. I probably took it for granted, and that yesterday kind of reminded me a little bit that I probably did. And probably a good reminder, don't take a lot of things don't take a lot of things for granted too, but a very powerful, very emotional pregame ceremony for Uecker, no question about it. So, a couple of texts here talking about the Brewers themselves. The Brewers, Travis, with a quick text saying he is a little bit worried with the Brewers. He's a little bit worried with how the bullpen has been taxed quite a bit here. It seems like we're seeing some cracks in the foundation. Maybe they just need that off day to kind of regroup and reset. Ben with a quick text in here as well saying, I'm not pushing the panic button yet, but I definitely think it's okay to say you're a little bit nervous considering what we've seen from the Brewers so far. They went on an amazing 14-game winning streak, 3-6 since then. Still good numbers, but it looks like this group is just maybe a little bit tired and just needs that off day. Hopefully, they can continue to grind through it. Another texter here saying, I know it's not a grind my gears Tuesday, but for all the fans who are coming out of the woodworks and being extra critical of Pat Murphy lately are probably the same fans that were singing his praises just a few weeks ago. I'm getting tired of everybody always pointing the blame at him after a loss, but maybe not giving him enough credits when the good times are rolling. Don't know the name of that texter, but thanks for texting on in. And another text coming in here too, saying that this is from Aaron. Aaron saying that watching on TV the pregame ceremony was definitely emotional. Teared up a little bit, even though I never met Uecker. You felt like you knew him as a good friend. It's still incredibly rare to find somebody in that position, right? I mean, it's incredibly rare to find somebody who is such an icon and a face of an organization, a face of a sports franchise. And he was a broadcaster. He called the games. You can't. I don't know if you can say that with another organization, another sports franchise. I mean, go to Green Bay, go to the Packers, an iconic franchise filled, I mean, oozing with history and all time greats. But it's a bar stool debate. If you had to pick the face of the franchise, who is it? You're going to have people saying Lombardi. You're going to have some people saying Lambeau. You're going to have some people saying Favre. You might have younger fans say Rodgers. It's all over the place. Brewers, there's probably no debate. It's Bob Uecker. It's Uecker. That is the face of the franchise. I don't know how many other I'll admit it. I'll freely admit I have not been to a ton of other pro stadiums. All right. I'd love to. It's on my bucket list. I would love to go on a trip. Maybe when I retire, and that's when I can go do my stadium tours and that. But I don't know of another stadium, another arena where somebody has two statues, one outside, one inside, their name up with the retired name numbers, their name outside of like the broadcast area, their quotes used for their home run, get up, get out of here, gone, right up, you know what I'm talking about, all over the place. And I don't know if I've ever talked, met, read anything that was negative. Like I don't know if I've ever heard anybody anywhere say one negative thing about Uecker. And it kind of fits with how he called games too, where he said that, he never had anything bad to say about a player, never Never wanted to say anything bad about a player because he knew how hard it was. He never said a bad thing, and I don't think a Brewers fan or even a baseball fan has said a bad thing about Uecker. So, yeah. All right, we'll talk some more Brewers coming up here in just throughout the program. We got 2 more hours left to go here. So, Brewers fans, are you a little bit nervous? Are you a little bit concerned with what you've seen so far in the last couple series with this Brewers team and the Cubbies kind of creeping up? If you didn't vote in that poll question, yeah, it's still the majority, wide majority, saying that yeah, you're a little bit concerned here. And I get it. And I understand it. No question. Some of you are saying, heck no. You're uber confident right now, still in this Brewers team. So if you want to vote, you can do so by going to our Facebook page, Sports Talk 105.1, and voting on there. Yeah, still about 71% of you saying, yeah, okay, a little. 28% of you saying, heck no. 1% says, dude, I'm freaking out. Coming up next hour. Oh, before that though, too, don't forget it is a Monday morning, and it's a perfect Monday between whether it's Brewers, Uecker, Packers with their 53-man roster, with the preseason now in the books. Got Badger football kicking off on Thursday of this week. It's a perfect Monday morning to fill in the blanks for our I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. I'm not saying blank, but I'm just saying blank. Fill in the blanks and let us know. All right. Best ones I'll read on the air. 715-830-1912 on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line. So text those babies on over. All right. Coming up next hour, though, after I try to get my maybe second cup of coffee running on caffeine from a late night, long day yesterday, coming back from Milwaukee, just a couple hours of sleep here. But we're going to talk a little green and gold. 53 player roster predictions. I put mine up on my Facebook page, but it changes. It's going to change now a little bit. I'm not going to change it because I only do one, and that's what you get for doing it, before, a couple days before the final 53. But the Packers making a trade last night. Don't think it's official yet from the Packers side of things, but it's going to happen. But the Packers acquiring offensive lineman Darian Kinnard from the Philadelphia Eagles. He's actually won the last 3 Super Bowls. He's won 2 with the Chiefs, and he won 1 with the Eagles last year. So let's try to use him, and maybe he's a good luck charm to to get to the Super Bowl. But he's a guy that could play guard and tackle. Well, he fits that Packers pedigree, right? Playing multiple positions on the offensive line. Probably speaks to where the Packers also feel, or how the Packers feel about the depth on their offensive line. I know Luke Butkus earlier last week talked. He was pretty open and honest. Luke Butkus, the offensive line coach for the Packers, saying, "Yeah, not really happy with the depth, or not really getting what they were hoping performance-wise from the depth of their offensive line." Now, he did say 31 other teams are probably saying the same thing, but actions speak louder than words in this case. When you go out there and you trade a 6th-round pick to bring in an offensive lineman after the preseason's over with, yeah, it probably tells you the team wasn't all happy and goo goo gaga and confident in their offensive line depth. Goody did this last year with the backup quarterback and the kicker. Finally got the kicker right in the season. But we'll see. And again, this isn't, Darian's not going to be a starter. But it's clearly evident that Green Bay was not happy with the progress of the rest of their offensive line, their back end depth pieces. And after seeing what the Eagles did to them in the playoff game last year, I can understand that if they weren't confident with the depth of their guys here. So, but I'll go through my 53-man roster prediction coming up next hour, and I'll take away the player that I think probably maybe loses their spot with this trade here. But I want to throw a question to you, Packers fans. With with trade deadline, with the deadline tomorrow coming up for teams to set their, remember, this is the key word, initial roster prediction or roster cut down. What position do you think is the hardest one right now for Green Bay to try to figure out? Which position group? Maybe you've got the player, maybe you've got the battle. Like, maybe you're saying, I think their hardest decision is going to be McCole Hardman or Malik Heath. Or maybe you're like, man, I think their hardest decision is going to be the corners. How many to keep? What do you think is the hardest decision that the Packers, that Goody and LaFleur have to make while they finalize this 53-man roster, their initial 53-man roster? Easiest one, specialists. We're good. McManus, Whalen, and Orzek. That's just like signed, sealed, delivered. Good. We're ready. A little bit different than last year, especially when it came from the kicker, right? Kind of just like, hey, we don't have to worry about that one. Kind of nice. It's kind of cool. I like it. Maybe it's running backs. I don't know. What do you think? All right, I'll give my picks coming up next hour as well. So, but also continue to send me your thoughts on the current state of the Brewers as we get set for another series beginning in Milwaukee, a 4-game series this time, going up against the Diamondbacks. First pitch tonight, 6:40. 1 hour in, we got a couple more to go here. Got some news updates, and we'll be back in just a few minutes to kick off the second hour after these quick words. All right, second hour kicking off on this Monday morning of August 25th. If you're up and at it, hopefully you're all off to a fantastic start here this morning. We're going to get back to some more Brewers talk. Brewers fans looking for your input on this question. You a little concerned, I think concern is just a little too dramatic of a word for me right now. Maybe are you just a little bit nervous? Are you a little bit nervous from what you have seen from your ball club here as of late, dropping their last two series, Cubs and the Giants this past weekend? Cubs now just 5 games back, but it's essentially a 4-game lead because the Cubs own a tiebreaker. So are you starting to get a little nervous? Are you a little bit nervous? You know, it's like that mirror on your vehicle. It says objects in the mirror are closer than they appear, and it's like the Cubs are just getting a little bit closer to you in the division standings. Or are you still uber confident? We had Matt chiming in, definitely getting a little bit nervous considering the Brewers have a tougher schedule coming up here and the Cubs have an easier schedule. Dave also saying, yep, definitely a little bit nervous. There is some cracks into that bullpen, it seems like, and maybe it's just because they have been getting so worn out. So we'll talk some more Brewers throughout the morning here, but we also had our final Packers preseason game, our final Packers preseason game on Saturday, and the Packers picking up a victory against Seattle. So if you worry about wins or losses in the preseason, first of all, chill. Second of all, Packers had a winning record in the preseason. So there you go, 2-1. That obviously means Super Bowl here. So, but now it's deadline. Now it's some tough decisions here because the Packers by tomorrow afternoon have to figure out who is going to be on their initial 53-man roster. We say initial because why? There's a really good chance it could change before they play their week 1 game against the Detroit Lions. There's a very good chance it could change, whether it's they add some dudes on the waiver wire that were cut from other teams, or just other stuff. Maybe some trades like we saw yesterday. That the Packers last night sending a 6th-round pick to the Philadelphia Eagles for offensive lineman Darian Kinnard. So, let's do some predictions, shall we? My one and only roster projection for the Packers. Posted it up yesterday on the way down to Milwaukee. It's obviously already wrong because I didn't have them trading for Darian. So, I mean, I got one wrong already, but I guess if I could alter it a little bit, I'll throw in the player who I think maybe I would take out and put Darian into this equation. So, quarterbacks, it's pretty simple. It's Jordan Love and Malik Willis. That's who I'm rolling with for that one. Jordan Love, Malik Willis. It's going to be interesting to see who makes the practice squad between Sean Clifford or it could be their Elgersma. Do they want to go with a little bit more of the proven product? Do they want to go with the potential? That one's going to be interesting to see what direction they go to. But in terms of active roster, the 53-man roster, it's Jordan Love and it's Malik Willis. Running backs here, I wouldn't be surprised if they kept somebody like Johnson and moved on from whether it was Chris Brooks or Emmanuel Wilson. But if we use a little bit of detective work here and try to kind of figure some things out, you can kind of look at that last preseason game, and Emmanuel Wilson got a few more snaps than Brooks in that, and it kind of gave the impression that, yeah, okay, Brooks's spot is fairly secure. Maybe they were trying to give a little bit more of a tryout, if you will, of an interview with Emmanuel Wilson. But I think they run it back with Jacobs, with Emmanuel Wilson, and Chris Brooks, and Marshawn Lloyd gets put on the injured reserve. But would I be surprised if they decide to go a different route? It wouldn't surprise me too much. But I think they go with Jacobs, Wilson, and Chris Brooks. But hey, maybe they want to go a little bit of a different route, and you're like, hey, we've tried the Emmanuel Wilson for the last couple of years. We thank you for your service, but we're just going to go a little bit of a different route here. Or same with Chris Brooks. Who knows? Maybe it is Amar Johnson then. Tight ends. This could be an interesting one here too. The question so we hear Goody every year when it comes to these cut downs, and they get to the final couple spots here, and they don't necessarily have a set number for each position group. They probably have a range of what they like to keep, but a lot of times it'll be a numbers game. And one guy might make it over another, and it ends up being that they carry a few more at that position over another one because they want to hold on to that player. So it's not always like, all right, 3 running backs and 5 wide receivers. It's not always cut and dry like that. And tight end to me is going to be a little interesting because we know the top 2. It's Tucker Kraft and Luke Musgrave. After that, the question is going to be, are they going to carry 3 or 4? I think before camp opens, Ben Sims was probably the 3rd tight end on the depth chart. But John Fitzpatrick has had a very good camp, a very solid camp. And he has put himself in that position to be the 3rd tight end. And so it may come down to a numbers game when it's all said and done with the tight end. Was that enough to keep him? Or are they going to go with keep Sims as that 3rd tight end? So that's going to be an interesting one to kind of follow along here when cutdowns go tomorrow. That one could be just a straight up numbers game. I think they maybe want to keep 4 Fitzpatrick, special teams and such, but if they need a spot for another position group, that's where they may only keep 3 tight ends. Then we'll see. But wide receivers. Obviously, I think the big question here is how many, and if it is 6, is it Malik Heath or Mecole Hardman? In the other wrinkle in this thing could be Savion Williams, who we have not seen lately. Now, I haven't really seen any talk about this, but let's say Green Bay decides to put, okay, Savion, we haven't seen you in the preseason. We're just going to put you on the injured reserve and then, able to keep another receiver that way. That one could be a dicey one here too. Because remember, you only got a certain amount of guys that you could designate for return. But possibly, maybe they do something like that, and then that allows them to keep Mecole Hardman and Malik Heath here. But, for my prediction here, I went Romeo Doubs, Matthew Golden, Jaden Reed, Dontavian Wicks, Savion Williams, and I went with Malik Heath. And part of that was I don't think Mecole Hardman did anything absolutely spectacular in these preseason games to get himself a job. You look at that last game, Malik Heath got the start, got a few reps at the beginning, and kind of the same with the Chris Brooks and Emmanuel Wilson situation. Maybe kind of gave us a glimpse of like, okay, the Packers believe that Malik Heath is higher on the quote-unquote depth chart than Mecole Hardman. Now, the difference is obviously Mecole Hardman can be a punt returner, can help you out in special teams in those areas. Malik Heath, he's not a returner. So what do you value more? Ultimately, just in my opinion, in my prediction, I think Malik Heath is going to be the guy that wins a job over McCole Hardman. But if they want to keep him just strictly as their punt returner, then obviously I think it's going to be him over Malik Heath. But I just, looking at preseason, looking at how the practices and training camp went, I'm gonna stick with my prediction of Malik Heath. Offensive line. Now, this is obviously going to be different with the trade. But you've got 7 locks on this thing. 7 clear-cut locks in the offensive line. Rasheed Walker, Aaron Banks, Alton Jenkins, Sean Ryan, Zach Tom, Jordan Morgan, and the second-round pick, Anthony Bell, right? I mean, those are straight-up locks. We can look at Anthony Belton and say, well, there's been some issues. And yeah, there has been, but he's a second-round pick, and they're not going to move on from him. So there's 7 locks there. Now the question becomes, all right, how many more do we keep? 8, 9, 10? And are those really, are they good? Has any of those guys done enough to win a job? Well, obviously they didn't feel great about 8, 9, 10. Because I got them keeping 10. Okay. And obviously they didn't feel great about their options 8 through 10. So that's why they traded for Darian. He is number 8. So he's going to be on this team. Now the question is going to be 9 through 10. Do they keep one more? Do they keep 2 more? I've got him keeping Jacob Monk, although I know he's got a hamstring injury. So, again, could that be an injured reserve sort of thing to begin the season? We'll see. A lot's going to depend on how they feel about his return. Maybe Smith can get a crack in there if they decide to move on from Monk, though, too, or he's put on the injured reserve. But in this case, I got him keeping Monk, and then I think it comes down to either Donovan Jennings or Kadeem Telford. I'm going to go with they keep Donovan Jennings. Now, both of them haven't really lit the world on fire. And if either one of those guys gets extended playing time, you're probably not feeling the greatest. But I think it's also telling when you look at the joint practice, Donovan Jennings was getting in reps with the 2-minute drill over Telford. And with the trade of Darian, who is a guard tackle, that's it's the same as Kadeem Telford, where he's like a guard tackle, whereas Jennings is guard and then getting some reps at center. So if I could change it, if I could edit it, I'm taking out Telford, and then I'm adding their new trade acquisition with Darian for the offensive line. So that's my offensive predictions. Defense. I'll be honest, I was looking at the defensive line here, and I'm not confident that they're going to keep all these defensive linemen that I'm going to put on here. I'm not confident in this. But I got 10. You got your four locks, which are your 4 starters. Kenny Clark, Devontae Wyatt, Rashawn Gary, Van Ness. I do think Carl Brooks makes it. I do think Stackhouse makes it. I think Warren Brinson makes it. I think Sorrell makes it. Again, he is going to be another one where it's like, okay, do they put him on the injured reserve? But you hear him talking, he doesn't really feel like he was going to be out long with that knee injury. And remember, they open up their season 2 weeks from yesterday. So you still got a little time. So that's 8. They need at least one more defensive ends if they want to continue with their rotation. So it's between Brenton Cox and Inagbare, in my opinion. Well, I got them keeping both, but I wouldn't be surprised if they decide just to keep 9 and just keep either Cox or Inagbare if they go that route. The other one in here is Colby Wooden. Colby Wooden got a lot of playing time. He, if they decide to keep him, I guess I wouldn't be surprised either. But it's a numbers game for me, and this is who I have them keeping: Clark, Wyatt, Gary, Van Ness, Brooks, Stackhouse, Brinson, Sorrell, and I did have them keep Bretton Cox Jr. and Inagbare, but I wouldn't be surprised if they only keep one of those final 2. Linebackers, it's Walker, it's Cooper, it's McDuffie, it's Hopper, and I went with Welch over Simmons. Simmons looks like Tarzan, maybe plays a little bit like Jane in some aspects. Great athletes. It wasn't all there in the preseason. We can't ignore the first 2 games of the preseason where he struggled a little bit. Welch has been a consistent special teams contributor. And I would say he had some solid play defensively in the preseason. Watching that game on Saturday, he made a couple nice reads. Brought down the ball carrier at the line of scrimmage or shortly past the line of scrimmage. I don't see them carrying 6 linebackers unless they decide to carry 6 linebackers and take away one of those defensive linemen. But these are the linebackers I'm rolling with: Walker, Cooper, McDuffie, Hopper, and Welch. Corner is also going to be an intriguing position on what Green Bay decides to do here in terms of a numbers one. And the kicker is Javon Bullard. And I just realized looking at this, don't try to do or type out a roster projection on your phone when you're on a bus. Holy moly, the spelling errors. I apologize. Predictive text. But the corner: Nixon, Valentine, Hobbs. Sign, seal, deliver. I'm assuming Hobbs is going to be ready for week 1. I'm not putting him on the injured reserve. So after that, it's like, okay, how many more corners? And you factor in the Javon Bullard because he's going to be your slot nickel corner. So you have a little versatility there. He's your backup safety, but he's also your slot nickel corner. When I've done these, I've always liked to keep like 6 corners. But since Javon Bullard is part of that, I only have 2 more corners on this list: Kalen King and Bo Melton. Would I be shocked if they decide to keep Micah Robinson? No. Would I be shocked if they decide to keep Kamal Hayden? No. Or Valentine? No, I wouldn't. But for this, again, it's a numbers game. I went with those 5, and then you add in Javon Bullard, who is your slot nickel. That's your 6. And then safety-wise, I've got 5. Your obvious ones, it's Xavier McKinney, it's Evan Williams. Then you throw in Javon Bullard. Oladapo, I thought, had a solid preseason. Zane Anderson's also on there. They like him. Plus, you get some special teams snaps with him. Specialists are easy: McManus, Whalen, and Orzak. So that's your 53. Marshawn Lloyd's on the injured reserve. Injured list. I did put that on there too. So that's my predictions. Probably not going to be 100% right. I'd be shocked. Obviously, it's not, because they already made a trade in that. So what do you think is the hardest group position to figure out that the Packers, that LaFleur, that Goody have to figure out? What do you think it is? Hit me up with a text, 715-830-1912. We got to take a quick break. We'll be back with more, though, coming up after these quick words. When your vehicle needs some work done, there's one place you could trust. That's AJM Automotive in Eau Claire. From oil changes, brake jobs, engine repairs, tires, the team at AJM does it all. They're honest, upfront, treat you like a neighbor too, not just another ticket. So if you want dependable work at a fair price, take it on over to AJM Automotive in Eau Claire, located 1919 Brackett Avenue, and put this number in your cell phone because they also offer towing services. I know you never want to think about that. You never hope you want to be in that situation, but it happens sometimes, right? It happens sometimes. So you don't want to be like, oh man, who do I call if I'm in there? Save this number, 715-835-9523. Again, 715-835-9523. AJM Automotive, located right here in Eau Claire. Surveyor Sam with a quick text. I'll give you a few. Gonna go with the quarterback, third quarterback, or the practice squad quarterback, the corner between King, Hayden, and Robinson, O-line between Monk and Jennings with the trade of the guy from Philly. Steve with an interesting text here. We've got Steve says, who do you think is the player that disappointed the most in preseason and the player that surprised the most in preseason? I am going to go. Okay, for disappointment, and I'm going to take away guys who were injured because that's disappointing. Like Savion Williams, I'm disappointed that we didn't get to see him really in preseason. So that's a disappointment. I'm going to take away Aaron Banks from that too because it's disappointing. We didn't get to see a whole lot of them injured. So taking injuries away, if we take the injuries off the table, I think the player that was maybe a little disappointing is I might have just not to cop out or make it easy. I'm gonna go Simmons. I'm gonna go Isaiah Simmons. And I thought he had a chance, and maybe he still does. We don't know yet. But I thought he had a chance to possibly make this team as like the fourth linebacker. Getting into a good situation. You know, we heard all the right stuff, focusing just on linebacker, not a linebacker safety hybrid. Got to just focus right on that. And I think it was a fairly disappointing performance in the first couple, at least the first couple games of the preseason and such. So, and I think that kind of, you factor in with how well Hopper played. Yeah, I would go Simmons. And then on the flip side, it's kind of the same group, but the player that surprised me the most is Hopper. Third round pick from last year. Didn't really hear a whole lot about him last year, even though a third round pick. I mean, come on now. Third rounders are expected to play. And last year, I remember we were talking about this, but last year, it was okay. That kind of seems like a special teams pick. A little raw yet. Maybe strictly special teams in the first year, rookie year. And then, they re-signed McDuffie, you got Cooper, you got Quay Walker, then they bring in Simmons, and it just kind of felt like, oh, maybe Hopper's going to be out. But the dude played awesome, and he was fantastic. And for somebody who's kind of built like an Isaiah Simmons, Hopper played like I think a lot of people expected that Simmons would play like. So I think for me, it's got to be Hopper as the guy that impressed me the most in this preseason. Maybe a couple of honorable mentions I'll throw in here. And really, maybe he should be because he is a first-round pick. Both of them, actually. But Jordan Morgan, for how well he played in his opportunities, I mean, the guy dominated in preseason at left tackle. And maybe part of it for me is because I just assumed that he was probably going to be a guard. It felt like that's what Green Bay was trying to do, was just to make him a guard. And the fact that he played so well at left tackle. I mean, you go back to last year when he was drafted, it was like, oh, maybe he's better suited to play guard in the NFL. And the Packers were like, no, we're going to try him at left tackle. Then they pretty much just practiced him primarily at guard his rookie year until he got hurt. And then Walker gets hurt. So Morgan goes in, and the guy played, and I know it's just preseason and such, but this is all we have to really go on. The guy graded out incredibly well at left tackle to where it's now a topic of debate. Should he be the starting left tackle? So I'd throw him on there as an honorable mention. Again, some probably won't because, like, well, that's what you should expect from a first rounder. And yes, you are right. But I'm coming at it from an angle of he did it at left tackle when we were kind of all getting trained a little bit like, okay, maybe he's going to be a guard. They're going to kick him inside. The other one I'd probably throw out there was probably, this is going to sound weird, but I'm going to go Matthew Golden. And maybe it's just because we've been so accustomed to first rounders not always necessarily being contributors right away. You know what I mean? Like day one contributors, day one, like, oh yeah. Like, I mean, let's face it. Let's call it what it is. The last how many years you can make the case that Green Bay has gotten instant contributions from like second, third, fourth, fifth rounders, more so than their first round picks. I don't think I'm talking crazy there. And I don't know what Matthew Golden is going to do this year. But I don't know of another first rounder off the top of my head that is going to be coming into this season, into this regular season, with as much excitement or has played so well in the preseason that has gotten the expectations a little bit high, maybe a little bit higher than we first thought. I mean, Matthew Golden has looked the part in preseason. He has looked like he is ready to go for the regular season and that he is going to be a focal part of this offense. When was the last time? The last player that was drafted in the first round for the Packers that we kind of thought that heading into the regular season. Yes, Quay Walker was a starter right away. But I don't know if he was at the level of like excitement, enthusiasm that we've got with Matthew Golden right now. That has played incredibly well, that has showcased, showed off, however you want to say it, in the preseason. So I'm going, another honorable mention I'm going is Matthew Golden, just because it's like, maybe I've been trained or we've been trained so much over the last few years that first rounders might not produce a whole lot right away. I don't know about Matthew Golden now, man. Maybe he's going to get, maybe the dude's going to ball out this year. I'm excited to see him out there. I really am. Like, I think maybe I'm getting too amped up, too excited, setting the bar incredibly high. But I think this kid's going to be awesome. And I can't wait to see him in action. I can't wait to see him when games are, when games count. And the thing is, too, with Love being at quarterback, Golden's going to get opportunities. He's going to get chances, right? There's not going to be this whole, and yes, you could take it as a little bit of a knock on Rodgers, whatever. There's not going to be this whole, you got to earn my trust sort of thing. Yeah, I'm sure there's a varying level of that where every new wide receiver has to earn that from that quarterback and such. But I don't think there's going to be this, like, you drop a pass, you're shunned for 2 games ordeal. Golden's going to get some golden chances, pun intended. I did that on purpose. I apologize. And I can't wait to see it in action. I can't. All right. let's take a quick break, and then coming up, we'll finish up the second hour with a little I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. I'm not saying blank, but I'm just saying blank. All right. Send those on over to me. 715-830-1912. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll be back after these few words. When it comes to fresh, quality meats, the first stop is always at Mike's Star Market on the west side of Eau Claire. Their brats, snack sticks, steaks. Hey, you can taste the difference in every single bite. And don't forget, with deer season coming up, remember, Mike's also does professional venison processing so that you know your hard-earned harvest will taste its best. Great cuts, great service, and hometown pride. That's Mike's Star Market. Stop on in today and see why locals have trusted them for years. And hey, again, Labor Day weekend coming up here. Maybe you're going to get the grills going. Maybe you're doing a little camping. Maybe you're doing a little backyard barbecuing and such. Where do you got to go? You got to go to Mike's Star Market, man. Go get those brats. Go get some steaks. My kid loves his chicken nuggets over there. So, I mean, if you got a kiddo that's a chicken nugget phenom like my guy, they got some good ones over there too. Got something for everybody. So, all right. Coming up next hour, we'll talk a little bit more Brewers. Brewers fans, though, I want to hear from you. So start to hit me up with some texts if you haven't already. You starting to get a little nervous? Are you a little bit nervous with the trend that you've seen so far from the Brewers in the last two series? Are you starting to feel the whole objects in the mirror are closer than they appear with the Cubs behind you in that? Or are you like, nah, we're good. We're good. All right. I want to hear from you. Brewers back at it tonight. No off day for the Brewers. Back at it tonight in Milwaukee, taking on the Diamondbacks. First pitch, 6:40. Coverage begin on your radio dials 35 minutes prior. Brandon Woodruff is getting the start for the Brewers. Let's do a little I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. And I got to admit, mine is related to the Brewers here. And it's kind of an easy one here. I'm answering my own poll question for everybody out there. I'm not saying I'm freaking out right now about the Brewers, but I'm just saying, yes, I am a little bit nervous. Okay, I'm answering it right here. My opinion. I'm a little bit nervous just because this is a long stretch without a built-in off day. And really, they're not going to, because I mean, it's Arizona, then it's Toronto, then Philadelphia here. So I mean, unless something happens, but they're not going to have an off day till September 2nd. They haven't had an off day since, well, the 14th. And you had a doubleheader mixed in there too. This is a team that looks like maybe getting a little tired, a little worn out. They need a little off day. They need a little, Crash Davis to make a rain delay out there. If you don't get the Bull Durham reference. And you look at the upcoming schedules. Yes, I would say the Brewers have a tougher one than what the Cubs do. Maybe the Cubs kind of found their mojo back after that series with the Brewers. They just swept the Angels. So they got a little mojo. Their arrow's probably trending a little bit upward. Brewers, and it's like, okay, here. Now, the thing is, the Brewers still control their destiny. They still control the cards. They control where they want to go, how they want to finish this thing. They themselves. They've got that 5-game lead in the division, which is essentially a 4-game lead when you count the tiebreaker goes to the Cubs, if it finishes with same record and such. So that on one hand is a positive, obviously, for where the Brewers are at, right? They control how this thing finishes off. They control where they want to go. They don't have to rely on other teams beating other teams for them. They don't have to do any scoreboard watching. They don't have to do, praying to Joe Boo and hoping that they get a little bit of a miracle run here so that they can squeak into the postseason. They control everything right now. That's in front of them. Yes, it's a difficult path. It'll be a little tough. It's a tough schedule coming up here. No question about it. With Toronto and Philadelphia. And then you finish off the season with the Padres and the Reds. A Reds team that might really be trying to get in as a wild card team. Padres at that point in time, Who knows where they're going to be at? They're tied with the Dodgers right now. But Brewers still control their destiny. They're going to get Jackson Chourio back here soon. Heck, they're even going to get Rhys Hoskins back here soon. Maybe another bat, a couple bats added to that arsenal. So at least that's the positive, is that they still control this thing. But if you want to, I think it's fine, and I think it's okay to admit, to say that, yeah, I'm a little bit nervous. It's natural. It's like any race. When you got this, we all want, if we're in a race or whatever, in a lead, we all want a big lead. We want a big gap. We want it as big as possibly as we could possibly get. That's natural. That is natural. And when it starts to shrink a little bit, okay, we get a little bit nervous. We start to look behind our shoulder here a little bit. And we start to look at, okay, how much time do we got? How many more games do we got left to go here? When it starts to shrink just a little bit, yeah, it's human nature to get a little bit nervous. And you look at the ball club from the last two series, it's like, okay, what have been some of the issues? Has it been a little bit of a crack in the bullpen? Is it just because they've been overworked? Maybe you're like, hey, offense needs to give them more runs. We don't have enough bats in that lineup. And no offense, but I mean, does a lineup that includes, like a Lockridge in there and some of those, does it probably impose fear among a lot of teams? Probably not. There's not a whole lot in there, right? With Lockridge and Monasterio and that, and I'm not trying to knock those guys by any means, because they have made some plays and they have been contributors, especially Monasterio. But on an offensive side of things, is it enough offense? Probably not. But hopefully with Chourio coming back here soon, we'll see what Rhys Hoskins, what his role is going to be. Hopefully getting those guys back too. Kind of that veteran leadership of Hoskins and that youth and that energy of a Jackson Chourio. Whenever they do come back, it kind of gives them a little bit more of a spark. Kind of like, I'm not saying the clubhouse is down or anything like that. I think they've got the right mindset. They got the right, vision and they're saying the right things and that. But you add in those two guys, that veteran leadership of a guy who's been there in September and October, and Rhys Hoskins, and that youth and that energy of a Chourio, it's going to get the clubhouse a little bit energized, I would imagine. Why wouldn't it? Why wouldn't it? It should. And it should be happening here fairly soon, I would imagine. But I understand why, if you voted or you said, yeah, I'm a little bit nervous. I get it. It's human nature. I'm right there with you. I'm a little bit nervous. I'm not panicking. I'm not freaking out. I didn't click the option, dude, I'm freaking out. I wasn't the one who did that. But yeah, I'm okay. I'm a little nervous. Yeah, I would have loved to have won that game yesterday, especially on Uecker Day, for crying out loud. And yeah, blowing a save. It's like, ugh. And we're a walk-off home run away from, going the opposite way, potentially, of maybe getting swept this. Thank you, Contreras, for the walk-off on Friday night. But Brewers just got to keep up with that same mindset, the night by night, game by game approach to finish this thing strong. And it starts with Arizona tonight. We'll talk more Brewers coming up in the next hour here. A couple of texts, though, going back to the Packers here. This one is from Josh. Josh says, I think the toughest decision for the Packers is going to be in the trenches. How many offensive linemen do they keep, and who do they keep, and same on the defensive line. They like to do their rotations. So how many are they going to keep? And do they have enough talent on that defensive line group? Yeah, I would agree. I'm a big it's one in the trenches guy. Offensive line and defensive line. Packers want better production from the defensive line. Are they going to get it this year with essentially the same group? It's just a new position coach. I mean, when we get closer to the regular season and kicking it off and next week and we kind of go through, top maybe storylines or top question marks heading into the regular season, it's still defensive line. I mean, I don't think anything really showed in the preseason, and anybody who expected to have those answers in the preseason, you're probably setting yourself up for disappointment because we knew we weren't going to see a whole lot from the defensive line, especially the starting unit in the preseason. But that is no question about it is going to be one of the biggest, if not the biggest, questions for this team heading into this season. And they're going to get their first going up against the Lions. I know the Lions lost some stuff. They lost some players in the offensive line. But it's still going to be a good test. I mean, look at the running game too. Right? Another texter says, I'm definitely curious to see what they do with the wide receivers. Do they keep a guy just to be a punt returner, or do they keep a guy that's been in the system for the last couple of years, but doesn't get on the field much with Malik Heath? What it boils down to, it could strictly just be a numbers game at that point when they kind of come down to it. I'd be a little bit surprised if they keep 7 receivers. I'd be a little surprised, but in the same time, I think a lot's going to depend on how they view. I think if they keep 7, I know some people have, if you look at different roster predictions and projections, some of them at 7. I think if they keep 7, that tells you how they feel about Jaden Reed, Dontavian Wicks, and Savion Williams with their injuries. If they keep 7, I feel like that kind of gives us a glimpse of they're probably not going to be ready week 1. If they keep 6, then I feel like, all right, they're comfortable that Wicks, Reed are going to be ready for week 1. But if they keep around 7, then that should tell us a little something. Where are we at for the shot clock? Okay, minute and a half. I got time for one more texter. Texter says, I'm going to go with the running back group. I wouldn't be surprised if Green Bay does a surprise release and moves on from Emmanuel Wilson. Been through a lot of these already over the years, and I don't think anything would really surprise me. I mean, okay, what if we flip that into a question? Who would be the biggest surprise? If all of a sudden we find out today or by tomorrow's deadline, the Packers released this person, what would be what would surprise you? You know, it's like a few years ago when they released Josh Sitton, right? It's like, what? They released Josh Sitton? Now, I don't think there's going to be a guy like that. The whole Romeo Dobbs stupid blog thing that got written, and then it just started to catch on fire on social media was ridiculous. They're not releasing Romeo Dobbs. That one would surprise me more than the Josh Sitton one, I think. But if there was a player, and let's be realistic, it's like, well, if they release Jordan Love, they're not releasing Jordan Love for crying out loud. If there's a player that they were to release that you could be like, oh, okay, I guess I kind of get it. It still surprises me that they did it. Who would that be? I don't know if there is that guy, to be honest with you. Maybe I'm missing somebody, but let me know. All right, let's take a quick break. 2 hours in, one more to go. We got some news updates. We'll get back to some more Brewers talk coming up after these quick words. All right, here we go. Final hour. Kick it off on this Monday morning. Hopefully, you all had an absolutely fantastic weekend. And you're ready to hit up a brand new week here. Heading into a Labor Day weekend, too. So, all right. Brewers fans, how you feeling about your team? Let me know. Text me, 715-830-1912. Again, that number, 715-830-1912. And while you're at it, Packers fans, give me a surprise, maybe cuts. What do you think is the biggest decision that LaFleur and Goody have to make with their roster cut downs having to be completed by tomorrow afternoon? Can imagine. Probably get some today. I would imagine a majority are going to be tomorrow. Just if we kind of follow a typical Packer timeline there. So, but if you have any thoughts on that, let me know. All right. I'm curious. I'm curious to hear from you. You can either text or shoot us a message on the socials or comment on the video streams. Brewers, after falling yesterday and dropping the series to the Giants, will be back at it tonight, taking on the Diamondbacks of Arizona. I know there was quite a few people on the bus yesterday disappointed to find out because they all kind of thought it was going to be Brandon Woodruff's turn in the rotation to see Brandon Woodruff pitch yesterday. He's actually pitching today. Chad Patrick wasn't bad, though. Well, Chad Patrick, he went 5 1/3. I think, let me bring it up here. Was it 7 Ks? Let me double check here. Patrick, 5 1/3. Yep, 7 Ks. Did give up that 2-run shot, but after that, I thought it was solid. Just needed a little more offense behind them. And especially in the beginning, I turned to Hudson. I'm like, man, Brewers are getting the barrel on the ball. It's just there was a couple plays too where credit to the Giants for making those catches in the outfield. But I mean, the Brewers, I thought were putting some good barrels on the balls yesterday. It's just right at some of those guys. Durbin, couple hits, including that home run. Yelich had a couple hits. Lockridge had a couple hits. 9 total hits for the Crew yesterday. Not enough RBIs, though. Not enough runs scored for them. But they'll try again tonight, 6:40, first pitch. Let's start a new winning streak tonight, huh? Let's start a new one. Yeah, they're all disappointed and down. I mean, you listen to Pat Murphy after the game yesterday. Every single one of those players, every single one of those coaches yesterday wanted that win for Uecker. They wanted that one. I'll admit it. Going into that game, I'm like, how are they going to handle the emotions? With the pregame ceremony, how are they going to handle it? Are they going to use it for motivation to get that W? Are they going to, is it going to be in their heads? Is it going to affect them that way? Are they going to be a little down? And it looked like up until the ninth, they were using it to win. But yeah, Pat Murphy after the game, said that they really wanted that one for Uecker, and said that, yeah, here was a quote: "God, I wish we could have got that for Uecker." What a great crowd! What a great turnout to honor such an incredible man. I didn't think there was any way that the baseball gods would bestow this on us. He also went on to say that while they still have the best record in the majors, quote, "we're not trending in the right direction." And I mean, he's not wrong, right? Murphy's been one to always speak the truth, always speak his mind. And I don't think he's completely off on that. But let's change it around starting tonight. Let's change it around with Brandon Woodruff on the mound getting the start. Let's get this offense rolling here. All right? Let's start a new streak. Let's start a new wave here. because this is what's going to happen now. And maybe it's started a little bit on social media. I'm not going to go out and seek it. But I'm sure there's going to be the people that have doubted the Brewers, especially during that winning streak and that month, you know, post All-Star into middle of August. You still had others doubting the Brewers. And I'm sure right now, a lot of those doubters are probably saying, "Told you so. Told you that's why you don't believe in them. Told you that's why this is just kind of a fluke. Because look what's going on right now in these last 9 games." I'm sure there's some out there saying that. Look at you probably do a quick search on the X or Twitter and you'll find posts about it. This is why we didn't believe in the Brewers. This is why everybody likes singing the praise of the Brewers. Look what's going on now. Screw it. Let's now. Okay, for all those people who thought, okay, are they peaking too early? Now are they gonna, kind of limp into the postseason here? If I'm in that clubhouse right now, I'm saying, all right, we're still the underdogs in a lot of people's eyes. We still have a lot of people who, even though we are the only team with 80 or more wins in this season, we have a lot of people that don't think we can finish this thing strong. We have a lot of people that still don't think that we'll win this division. We have a lot of people who don't think that we are very good. And we're just a fluke team that's just gotten nothing but luck. There's that. There is that. We know that. That's a thing. People are out there saying it. Let's go prove them wrong. Let's go prove everybody in Major League Baseball, all the fans, and all of our naysayers wrong. Let's go out there and just do what we do. Starts tonight, game-by-game approach. Brandon Woodruff, and you would think, and I know there's, baseball, every year there's, quite a bit of roster turnover and such, but with it being 2 National League teams, not a ton of experience between Eduardo Rodriguez, who's going for the Diamondbacks, and Brandon Woodruff for the Brewers. You look at the lineup for the Diamondbacks. Not a ton of experience. There's only Marte's got 10 career at bats against Woodruff, and he actually is hitting 300 against him. He's the only one with double-digit at-bats. You got Smith, who's got 8 career at-bats. He's 125. Corbin Carroll's got 5 career at-bats. He's 400. Everybody else is about, like, a game's worth of experience going up against Woodruff. So, not a ton. The thing for me, though, that for Woodruff start tonight is, are they still going to be mindful of his innings, of his pitch counts? Like, how are they going to approach Brandon Woodruff starts for the rest of the regular season? Is there a certain mark that he hits? Like, I don't know if it's total pitches or okay, as soon as he hits this many number of pitches, we can start to stretch him out a little bit more. I mean, because if you really look at it and you look at his games, I mean, his last one against the Cubs, yeah, he only went 4 1/3, but he threw 94 pitches. Whereas his start before that, Pittsburgh, he went 4 innings, but 65. And then the game before that, the Mets, you want to talk about efficient, 7 innings, 79 pitches. So they talk about, managing Woodruff and pitches and that sort of stuff. But, between the 13th and the 19th, he had 6 days off. It was 6 days between, excuse me. So I'm curious, what's the plan tonight? What's the plan going forward when it comes to Woodruff? But there's no question, we're looking for a bounce back performance from Woodruff. That was that game against the Cubs was probably his poorest start for this season. It was his first loss. 4 1/3, 3 earned runs, the most runs he's given up in any start so far this season. We're looking for a little bit of a bounce back, a little bit more better or a little better control from his pitches. Keep that pitch count down. I was actually looking at pitch counts earlier this morning just because I was curious, like where Freddie Peralta ranks. We know Freddie Peralta throws a lot of pitches, not a lot of innings, right? So, number of pitches, total number of pitches thrown. Freddie Peralta has the 6th most pitches thrown in all of Major League Baseball. Okay. Carlos Rodon's got the most. Logan Webb, Robbie Ray's under. So you got 2 Giants pitchers that the Brewers just went up against. Okay, Robbie Ray's got tied for the 3rd most. Garrett Crochet's got the 5th most. So Freddie Peralta's got the 6th most total pitches thrown. You want to know the difference between Freddie Peralta and everybody else that's ahead of him, like Logan Webb? Freddie Peralta, look at the total number of batters he has faced and compare it to the total number of pitches. Okay? So Freddie's got 2,572 total pitches thrown. He has faced a total of 608 batters. For comparison's sakes, Logan Webb, 691. Carlos Rodon, 642. Robbie Ray, 650. Garrett Crochet, 664. Again, Freddie Peralta, 608. That tells you the story of Freddie Peralta. Good pitcher. Got 15 wins this year. Really good pitcher. Racks up that pitch count, though. Look at that. 6th most pitches thrown this year. 2,572. He has faced a total of 608 batters. Logan Webb has thrown 2,609 total pitches, but he has faced 691 batters. Yeah. That's just like, wow. All right. But back to tonight's game. So then you've got Eduardo Rodriguez going for the Diamondbacks tonight. And you look at his season so far, I mean, it's kind of a little all over the place, to be honest with you. He's 5-7 so far this year with a 5.40 ERA. And you kind of break it down by month. April, dude was 1-3 with a 6.26 ERA. May in his 3 starts, not good. 3 starts, no decisions, 9.75 ERA. May 14th, missed some time, back at it June 6th. And in June, dude was really good. 5 games, 2-1, a 1.98 ERA. And pretty good. It's like, okay, maybe turn the corner. But then, July, 4 games, 0-3, 7.40 ERA. It's like, ooh. And now August, so far, in 4 games, he's 2-0, but a 4.50 ERA. So it's almost like what version, right? What version are we going to get with Rodriguez on the mound tonight? Is it going to be the version that maybe we saw in June, where he was pretty good? Now June, if you break it down a little bit further too, you look at the innings pitched, and he was throwing some Freddie Peralta type numbers here. I mean, 5 innings and over 100 pitches. And then July, he was in 4 innings and getting close to 100 pitches. So, I mean, just kind of erratic in that. August 14th against Colorado, he went 7 innings, 93 pitches. Kind of, a little bit of a wild card at this point. So, again, what version are we going to get? If I'm the Brewers offense, I'm going up there with an aggressive mentality. Got to be able to put up some run support. Got to be able to give Woodruff some run support tonight. I want some crooked numbers early in this game. I want some crooked numbers and a lot of innings tonight. I want to see this team channel that disappointment from yesterday. Channel that anger, if there is some of it, and put it on the field today. Let's regroup. Let's refocus. Things aren't going to get any easier. Don't worry about what the Cubs are doing. Don't worry about the rest of the National League. Worry about yourselves right now. Worry about what's in front of you right now. Because you control your destiny. You control how this thing finishes off. It's you. Nobody else but you. That's the position every single team wants to be in any sport. Baseball, football, basketball. Every team wants to be the top dog, wants to be the team that is leading from the front and wants to be able to control their destiny. It's just, can the Brewers hold on? And not just hold on. We don't want them just to, the expectations have changed, right? We don't want them just to hold on so they make the postseason. We want them to go to the postseason riding some confidence and riding some momentum and winning. That's what we want. Let's start that momentum tonight against the Diamondbacks. Finish this month off strong, head into September, and now we roll. Let's take a quick break. We'll have more. Your thoughts on the Brewers? Text it on over to us, all right? 715-830-1912. Quick break. We'll be back in just a few minutes. If you're looking for a great spot to relax, grab a bite, and enjoy some good company, you have got to check out the VFW Post 305 located in Eau Claire, right on Star Avenue. It's the kind of place where the food is tasty, the drinks are cold, and the atmosphere feels like home. Whether it's their famous Friday fish fry, a burger night, or just meeting up with friends after work, VFW Post 305 is where neighbors gather and good times happen, especially with football season coming up here. Need a go-to spot to catch the games? You got VFW Post 305, baby. So swing by, pull up a chair, and see why the locals keep coming back. All right, we're already close to the bottom of the hour here this morning. We had texter Ben text in. Dan, do you think if Shedeur Sanders gets released by the Browns, a team will pick him up right away? So, like, put a waiver claim on him. I think he'll be on a team. Yeah, I mean, I think a team will claim him. There's a, whew, I mean, that to me is going to be an interesting situation. We know Flacco's a starter. Browns traded for Kenny Pickett, but he's been hurt. You got Gabriel over there too. Um, I, phew. I don't know if he'll get released, but if he does, yeah, a team will probably put a waiver claim on him. There will probably be some teams that just don't want to mess with the extra attention that he brings. Been seeing a lot of, at least on social media, a lot of Tim Tebow comparisons, which I don't know if it's. I think they're a little bit different, but I understand the comparisons. I understand why people are throwing out that comparison because of the attention to a quarterback that some people have some questions about on the talent side of things and whether it's worth maybe the extra media circus around it. The thing is, with Tebow, I mean, Tebow was a first round pick too, and I just they're slightly different, but there are some similarities that I can see. It's yeah, I'm definitely curious to see where that one definitely goes. But to answer your question, yeah, I think he'll get picked up by somebody. Earlier I was asking, throwing out a question, would there be any surprise releases from a Packers sense, like realistic surprise ones? I think the Romeo Dobbs one is just that was such a manufactured one. That one's not real for me. But looking at the rest of this lineup, I don't think there is like a surprise one on here. There isn't that Josh Sitton that we had how many years ago. We're not going to get that. Heck, there was even some people on social media for suggesting that the Packers would release Quay Walker and have Hopper start. That's not happening either. Okay, that's not happening. I mean, I'm looking at this and I don't see really any surprise, like jaw dropping. Like, what are they doing? Like, oh, I did not see that one coming. Type of moves. I don't see that happening. I'm looking at this roster right now, literally looking at it, and I keep scrolling up and down, and I don't see that name. Now, to be fair, I did not think Josh Sitton was going to be that guy when it happened. But knowing that that type of move happened and factoring that, I still don't see anything. It's like, okay, offensive line, they don't have the Lane Taylor to come in and give a starting job to replace Josh Sitton. They don't have that on their offensive line. They don't have that on their defensive line. They don't have that with wide receivers either. Maybe if Savion was healthy and Jaden Reed was healthy and all that, and Dontavian and that, maybe there's a Romeo situation there. But you factor in the injuries with that wide receiving department. I just don't see it happening. I don't see that happening. So I mean, I guess the only surprise player potentially on there then would maybe be Emmanuel Wilson. But I don't think I would be that surprised because They got to see him for a couple years. He's productive in spurts. Josh Jacobs is the man. They're still holding out hope for Marshawn Lloyd to figure out the injury stuff. They really like Chris Brooks and the versatility he kind of brings. If they feel like, hey, we want to see more of Amar Johnson, and we don't feel like we're going to be able to keep him on the practice squad, maybe they make that move. But other than that, I don't see any major surprises. So, all right. Not sure if you're into power rankings. Again, I look at them just to see what some national sense is for the teams that we talk about and such. So, MLB.com had their latest power rankings out. And in case you're wondering, did the Brewers fall out of the top spot given their recent games? No, they didn't. I'm actually surprised, to be honest with you, that MLB.com and a national one kept the Brewers at 1. I thought they would kind of look for any reason to drop them out of a top spot. So they didn't, surprisingly. But what did they have to say about the Brewers? There actually has been a little bit of tumult in Brewers land of late. They've lost 6 of their last 9 immediately following that 14-game win streak. The most recent 2 of which were because of the bullpen springing leaks. They gave up 7 runs in the 6th and the 7th on Saturday, and then blew a lead in the 9th on Sunday, helping douse those good Uecker vibes, though just a little. The lead over the Cubs, down to 5 games. By the way, the Cubs on this, number 5. I still look at this National League, and it's like, throw the Brewers in there. You've got the Phillies. You throw the Cubs in there. You throw the Padres in there. You throw the Dodgers in there. That is such a loaded National League. Oh. I mean, this Dodgers and Padres run, this chase, is either going to go all the way up until that final weekend. And remember, again, Brewers played the Padres in San Diego, the second to last series. And looking at the current standings right now, National League Brewers still tops. Philly, number 2. Dodgers, Padres, same exact record right now. Top wild card spot is the Cubs. Then it's either Dodgers or Padres. The Mets holding on by 1.5 over the Reds. Now, the kicker with this Diamondback series coming up here is the Diamondbacks are only 5.5 out from the final wild card spot. Yeah, they sold some guys at the trade deadline. But 5.5 is not an insurmountable lead by any means. Or not lead. 5.5 back is not an insurmountable gap. Especially when you've got 4 games coming up here. And especially when you kind of take a look at, the Reds are playing the Dodgers. And the Mets are playing the Phillies. I got to imagine somebody within the Diamondbacks, probably a few, are looking at this like, hey, here's a chance potentially for us to make a little bit of a move in the standings. We got to take care of our business first against the Brewers. But the Reds, who are above us right now, they got to go to La La Land and play the Dodgers, who are in a division race with the Padres, and they can't really afford to lose a lot of games. And the Mets, who are holding on to that final wild card spot, they're taking on the Phillies. I have to imagine the Diamondbacks are looking at this as like, we've got a chance to maybe make up some ground here. Got to imagine that. So don't overlook the Diamondbacks. American League side of things, got the Tigers, got the Blue Jays, you got the Astros. Boston, the number 1 wild card team right now. the Boston Red Sox. How things quickly change. I mean, what was it, a month before the trade deadline? Maybe not even a month before the trade deadline, and you had all of these talking heads and all of these pundits coming out with their lists of the top available players. And how many Red Sox players were on that list? They're probably saying, thank you. Top wildcard team right now. Yankees, second. Mariners holding on to that final wildcard spot. And you got Kansas City, who's the next closest. They're 3 back. Texas is 4.5. Cleveland 5. So maybe a little bit of a more solidified in the American League compared to the National League. Yeah, but again, if I'm the Brewers too, even going back to that mindset, they got to know too, like, okay, and this goes into their night by night, win tonight approach, game by game sort of thing. They got to know, looking at this, like, okay, Arizona, we got them for 4 games. They're 5.5 back from a wild card spot. The teams they're chasing, they've got tough matchups starting tonight. Arizona, you're going to get their best. I mean, they're a desperate team if they have any chance to make that wild card round. It starts tonight in Milwaukee. Brewers got to be ready. And Pat Murphy kind of alluded to this yesterday after the game against the Giants, and people took the quote out of context and only looked at certain parts because he was talking about the Giants. And he talked about, and the people, or there's a lot of people on social media ran with just part of the quote, saying when Pat Murphy was talking about the Giants and he mentioned they were built to win. And people just ran with the phrase built to win. And really came down hard on Pat Murphy. But if you listen to the whole quote, Pat Murphy was talking about how the Giants were built to win for this season. That was the expectation. They were built to win for this season. And it hasn't been working out for them. And he talked about how they're kind of playing maybe a little more free. We mentioned that last week too. Those are sometimes the most dangerous teams. Those teams that, hey, they're not playing up to their level that they had, the expectation they had, kind of out of it right now, or they're a little bit further back. So instead of like pushing, they play a little bit more free. Those are sometimes the most dangerous teams you could go up against. And maybe that was the case with the Giants this past week. Willie Adames looked pretty darn comfortable in his old confines. Now, will Arizona play with that same mentality where they're going to be a little bit more free, a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more chillaxed? Or are they going to come in saying, oh, guys, we're only 5.5 back yet, and look at the Mets and look at the Reds and who they got to play this week. Dudes, we've got a chance. We got a chance. That might make the difference. All right, let's take a quick break, and then we're going to wrap up things. We've got picks coming up here. We'll pick tonight's Brewers game. Brandon Woodruff, Eduardo Rodriguez on the mound for the Diamondbacks. Who we're going to pick for this? And all the other games on the schedule. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Bow season may be right around the corner, but that also means we're getting closer to rifle season. And if you are still maybe trying to figure out, dude, I got to upgrade my deer rifle. I forgot about that. Head on over to our good friends at Tilda Gun. They'll help you find exactly what you're looking for. If you're not even quite sure what you're looking for, Hunter, Sean, they can help you answer your questions and find what fits you, what fits your budget, all that good stuff. Check out their new website, too. It's so sweet, tildengun.com. And make sure you go visit their shop, located at 12427 98th Avenue, Chippewa Falls. It's Tilden Gun. Best deals, best prices in the area. All right, let's do some picks to wrap up this Monday program, shall we? We got some baseball games coming up here. All right, let me bring it up here. Let's do, by the way, see it's going to be Twins and Phillies for the Field of Dreams game. I know we got some Twins fans. Twins fans, I got to know. You going to definitely try to get to that thing? I mean, I'll be honest with you. If the Brewers would go play it, I'd be looking hard. I'd be trying to figure out a way to get down there and watch that. I think that would be so cool to go watch a baseball game being played at the Field of Dreams. That'd be so cool. I don't know how they could do it, but it would be if somehow they had a Sandlot field just to kind of replicate the Sandlot movie. That would be also really cool. But no, I think it's, Twins fans, if you go experience it, I think, if you have a shot to go watch your team play over there. I think that'd be really awesome. All right, let's get to some picks here. We've got Boston taking on Baltimore. I'm going to go with the Red Sox. They're playing some good ball right now. Atlanta, Miami, Spencer Strider getting the start for the Braves. I'll go with the Braves. We got Tampa Bay and Cleveland. I'm going to go with the Rays in this one. We've got Nationals and the Yankees. I got to go. I shouldn't say I got to go. I'm going to go Yankees to bounce back here a little bit. Speaking of those Twins, they're up against Toronto. Joe Ryan and Max Scherzer. You know what? I'm gonna go Twins. I got Joe Ryan helping lead the way here. I'm gonna go Twins for tonight's game. Big time series. Phillies at the Mets. I'm gonna go with the Phillies. Royals taking on the White Sox. I'll go with Kansas City tonight. Pittsburgh at St. Louis. I'll ride with the Cardinals. The Angels taking on the Rangers. Jacob deGrom's on the mound for the Rangers, so I will go with the Rangers. Good series here, too. Padres taking on the Mariners. I'm going to go with the Padres tonight. Tigers taking on the Athletics. Tariq Skubal's on the mound. Give me the Tigers. Reds at the Dodgers. I will go with the Dodgers. Brewers. Diamondbacks. Diamondbacks visiting the Brewers. Brandon Woodruff on the mound. Eduardo Rodriguez, a lefty, going for the Diamondbacks. I'm going to go with the Brewers to bounce back and get the win tonight. Start this series off on a high note. Get that W. Get the win. With Woodruff on the mound, hopefully a little bit of a bounce back, hopefully an improvement in the command and the control in his pitches from what we saw in his game against the Cubs last week. Let's get the W. Let's get some run support tonight for the Brewers, okay? Let's go. Can't get complacent with your lead in the division and in Major League Baseball. Get the win tonight. All right, so those are your picks for this morning. We talked lots of Brewers, especially Uecker Day yesterday. Again, if you were at it, what an awesome experience. I was there. So cool. I don't know how it was on TV or how it sounded on the radio. I got to imagine it was still pretty darn cool. But, yeah, definitely a very, very emotional, powerful pregame ceremony. So, talked a little bit about that. Talked about the loss to the Giants, not only from yesterday, but with this series. It seems like, in just kind of doing the averages here and looking at the numbers on our poll, there is a majority that are a little bit worried about how the Brewers are trending right now. You're a little bit worried. Nobody's really freaking out. There are a few of you who aren't worried yet. But there's a majority that are just a little bit worried with the trend of the Brewers right now. Hopefully, that worrisome will kind of diminish after tonight's game. But that's baseball, right? 162 games. We ride the waves of emotions, the highs and the lows. We go game by game. We always say it's a long season, but we still ride the waves of emotions game by game, series by series. It's just how it works. Talk to the Packers. Tomorrow's the deadline for the Packers to get down to their initial 53-man roster. We'll see if there's any moves that'll start today. I would imagine, though, that the Brewers will do, the Packers will do a majority of their moves tomorrow. Especially maybe holding on to guys that they are hoping can stick on the practice squad. I wouldn't be surprised if some moves are announced today. Maybe those guys that, to be blunt, have no shot at making this team, or maybe don't even have a shot at the practice squad. Maybe we see those moves today, but I would imagine we're probably going to see a majority of them coming our way tomorrow. So we'll see if, again, I don't see really any big surprises out there. I just don't. Packers, we talked a little bit about it. Their trade yesterday, acquiring an offensive lineman from the Philadelphia Eagles, Darian Kinnard, who's won the last 3 Super Bowls, so he's got 3 rings. But talked about that move, and I think that just paints the obvious picture. Green Bay was not happy with the depth of their offensive line. They were not happy with the performance from the back end of their offensive line. We know the 7 locks. And one of those locks wasn't very consistent throughout this preseason, but he's a second-round rookie, and that's Anthony Belton. We know everybody else, the Jordan Morgan, great. Rasheed Walker's going to be on here. I don't think he'd be a surprise release either, just because of the depth at offensive line. Aaron Banks, Elton Jenkins, Zach Tom, Sean Ryan. We know those guys are locks. But there was I think it was pretty evident, there was a pretty wide gap from, let's say, those 6. Then you throw in a Belton for 7, but then there was a wide gap from the rest. And I think by Green Bay trading a 6th-round pick to bring somebody in, they acknowledge that too. They needed better depth. And they bring in a guy that's got experience playing guard and tackle. That position versatility we know Green Bay wants with their offensive lineman. So he's the 8th. The question now is, how many more offensive linemen is Green Bay going to keep? And let's say it's 10. Who are those 2? Maybe another one is not on the team yet. Maybe Green Bay was like, we really need to upgrade here. And I get it. I think a lot of us get it. They were an injury away from a starter. Maybe 2 injuries away from a starter. So we're like, do we trust this guy out there? I mean, look at the Eagles' playoff game last year. It was to a point where it was like, do we really trust our depth? If this insert player name here has to go in there and play, do we trust him? I think that was no for some of these guys. Otherwise, you don't make a move like this. Not say it's a world-changing move or a dramatic trade or anything like that, but it's clearly obvious they were not happy with the depth. And maybe they're still looking. Maybe they're going to look at the waiver wire. Maybe that depth is maybe going to come from another player that's not on his team. It's kind of giving me a little bit, I don't think it's a full-on accurate comparison, but it's a little bit kind of like the kicking situation last year where it's like, hey, we had Anders Carlson and Greg Joseph in camp. No, we don't want either one of those. Brand new kicker to begin the season, and then it still wasn't working out. Then we bring in Brandon McManus. I don't know if that's what they'll do with the last spot or 2 spots with the offensive line, but we'll see how it all kind of plays out. So Again, deadline's 3 o'clock tomorrow. 3 o'clock tomorrow to get that deadline in. So, all right. Coming up tomorrow, it is a Grind My Gears Tuesday, brought to you by our good friends from Toyson Ford. Shout out Toyson Ford. So think about what's grinding your gears lately. Maybe it'll depend on what happens with tonight's Brewers game. But think about what's grinding your gears, and then hit us up with those texts coming at us tomorrow morning. All right, on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line, 715-830-1912. Reminder, Brewers, Diamondbacks tonight, first pitch, 6:40. You can catch the game on your radio dials, 105.1 FM and 790 AM. Coverage will begin 35 minutes prior, so you're looking at about 6:05 tonight. It'll be a 6:40 game time start for the next 3 games, and then a 1:10 start on Thursday before the Brewers get out of town and travel to Toronto when they take on the Blue Jays to finish off the month of August. So the second to final series for the month of August starts tonight with the Diamondbacks. And again, Brandon Woodruff will be on the mound. I know there was, at least on the bus that we were on yesterday, a lot of people disappointed it wasn't Brandon Woodruff getting the start yesterday, but I thought Chad Patrick pitched well. I thought he did his job. Just would have liked to have seen a little bit more run support. They had the lead. Trevor McGill couldn't shut it down. Maybe that's where you're getting a little bit nervous at, looking at the last couple outings from Trevor McGill, who has been pretty good. I mean, obviously made the All-Star game, but maybe in a little bit of a rut right now. Who knows? We'll see how it all plays out tonight. Just let's get that W. Cubbies don't play. Let's get that W. Add a little bit more in that gap for first place in the National League. Let's just get that W and let's get the good vibes rolling again. All right, let's get that mojo going, that feel good going here a little bit. So, but hopefully we're talking about that win tomorrow, along with what's grinding our gears. Hopefully we're not grinding our gears about another Brewers loss. Hopefully that's not what we're doing our grinding our gears about. So, college football, Badgers start on Thursday too, so we're going to catch them with RJ Cardinal. We're going to break down that Badgers and Miami of Ohio game. You know it. DP Danitz are up next. Have yourself a awesome rest of your Monday. Same place, same time tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. Chat with you then.